Earth was meant to be this amazing playground, this giant experiment in emotional frequencies. There's this consciousness that we know as Sophia Gaia. And Sophia Gaia wanted to take a physicality and move it through dimensional fields. So this grand experiment was created. So this experiment was created in a 12th dimensional field, a 12th dimensional grid, in a 5th dimensional field, and it was set with resonance frequencies of love, truth, beauty, and goodness. So because of this, it carries with it the largest range of emotional experiences possible for any other planet in this universe. So because of that, this was a great intrigue, actually, to join this grand experiment. So many consciousnesses decided to join. Now let's talk about consciousness for a second. So when I'm talking about consciousness, I'm not talking about conscious awareness. I'm talking about consciousness as your soul or as information. We are information of source. That's what consciousness is. So in a lot of these consciousness that actually seeded the earth are like the plants and the trees and the birds and the bugs. They're all consciousness, they're all information. So they all came here and joined in this big party. They're fun. So in the beginning, many civilizations occurred. Let's see if we get this. One jump. There we go. Sorry, missed the first slide. So a lot of civilizations were created, and there was a lot of things happening. And because these individuals who were here, a lot of the consciousness that actually were seated, because we were seated in a 5th dimensional field, there were higher dimensional beings that were here in the beginning. And so these higher dimensional beings, knowing the quantum field really well, decided that they wanted to play in the lower dimensional fields. And and why they wanted to do that is because there's more information in the lower dimensional fields. So what do I mean by that, in more information? It means that the entire Earth experience is based on an emotional experience. So in a lower dimensional field, you have like a larger range of these different emotional experiences. So the example would be like in a 5th dimensional field, if you're knowing yourself as one, you would know yourself as consciousness, as your soul. But in a 3rd dimensional field, if you're knowing yourself as one, you would know yourself as little me, as me. And also, you could know yourself as your soul. So there's more information that's going on here. So because, let's see if I can get this here. So because now we're having these 4th and 3rd dimensional energies and frequencies that were here, these different emotional things that were going on, and in this 3rd dimensional reality, you're also getting a lot of separation. You're starting to get these different emotional experiences of competition, of just different ways in which there were separations in energies and frequencies. And so what began to happen is the civilizations were creating technologies and things that became harmful to the earth because there was this separation type thing going on. So because of this, there had been many times that it was these technologies were harmful and were going to actually hurt the earth, kill the earth. But for the most part, the earth was able to clear herself up until this one particular time. And this particular time was about 250,000 years ago that we refer to as the time of the fall of Atlantis. And the earth, actually at this time, the individuals that were here were actually going to kill the earth. And so divine intervention had to come in. And during this time, there was like a clearing of the earth that took place except not all of the energies cleared. There were fifth dimensional beings that, because at the time of Atlantis, in the fall of Atlantis, the beings there kind of knew that they were responsible for what had taken place in about killing the Earth. They decided to go in a fifth dimensional field in the inner Earth, kind of hang out and sort of help the ascension that was going to continue, because Sophia Gaia still wanted to move this physicality through these dimensional fields. And the origination was to move basically from a fifth dimension to a seventh dimensional field. But now she's down to a third dimensional field and needed to just get back up to a fifth dimensional field to keep going. So some of these beings, which we know as of the Agartha network, was created in places like Telos, where a lot of these beings, some of these Lemurians and Atlanteans, had gone in the inner Earth to kind of hang out, fifth dimensional field. I think this slide was backwards, so you're going to see here this. So at the time when all this took place, whoops, did I skip? Oh no, sorry. All right. So when the Earth was reseeded, so we have Telos that was created, right? So we have this in the fifth dimensional field. And then when the Earth was cleared, and then it was going to be reseeded again, there was like a rule that was put in place that says no lower dimension below fifth dimension can enter into the Earth, because they knew that these third and fourth dimensional beings had kind of caused havoc and were going to kill the Earth. So they didn't want any more to come in at this particular time. So there was a fifth dimensional field grid put around the Earth so that it was only fifth dimensional or higher. But several other things were taking place during this time. So fifth dimensional beings and higher were incarnating into the humans, and the humans now are third dimensional. So they're incarnating in, and they're forgetting who they are, because they're incarnating into a third dimensional body, right? So this is happening. There's also, though, there were these beings that we refer to as ephemerals, and they are like the fairies and the gnomes. And they actually are fifth dimensional beings, and they came here. And they can't incarnate into a physical body, but they can kind of enter into a physical body for a period of time. And and they began to do this because there's a lot of experiences that they could have in the physical body. But it's kind of like if they stayed in the physical body too long, then they would sort of get stuck. That's the best way to say it. So this was actually happening, and they were experimenting in the physical bodies at the time, and many of them did kind of get trapped within the physical body. So this was also going on in this reseeding, and this was 250,000 years ago. So then another thing happened where there are these beings that we know as the reptilian consciousness. And the reptilian consciousness, at the time, their planet was dying. And they realized that gold can help their planet. And so, searching around the universe, they realized that the Earth had a lot of gold. And they happen to be fourth dimensional beings. And, the Earth, really, you weren't supposed to have fourth dimensional beings come into the Earth. But they decided to come here anyway because they realized there was gold. And I think this is important to understand because their reason for coming here initially was not this malevolent way, right? It was because they realized that there was gold here, so they came here. So they ended up coming to the planet to mine gold. And so once they came here, being fourth dimensional beings coming from a different planet, they realized that they couldn't sustain in the atmosphere for very long. So they needed to create beings that could mine the gold for them. So again, this was not done initially in this kind of nefarious way or anything. It was done because they couldn't sustain the atmosphere. So because they can't, they're fourth dimensional beings that cannot incarnate into a physical body. They're mental energy, you said all mental, and also the only frequency that they know is fear. So what they did is they crossed their DNA with the humans, but they noticed that there were humans that had a greater light. And these were the ones that had the trapped ephemerals, because they're fifth dimensional beings. So they chose these trapped ephemerals, and, sorry, I'm missing a slide here. Here we go, okay. So they chose the trapped ephemerals to cross their DNA. So what was created, so they came as a fourth dimensional being coming to the earth. They brought, first of all, the frequency of fear. And fear is a chaos frequency. It's not an authentic frequency, so it has no rhythm. The resonance frequencies that are part of this earth experience, love, truth, beauty, and goodness, have a wavelength to them. So they're actually authentic, what we refer to as authentic frequency. So the reptilian consciousness brings fear. But when they crossed their DNA with these trapped ephemerals in the humans, there were two other frequencies that were now created. And these frequencies are, isn't working, so there we go. Enslavement, imprisonment, and sacrifice. And these frequencies were created because these ephemerals, right, felt trapped and enslaved, and they're sacrificing their beings. And this is what this experience of these trapped ephemerals now being introduced to fear had created. Okay, so now we've got fear introduced, we've got enslavement or imprisonment and sacrifice. And now it's been introduced as frequencies. And this is what we've been playing out for the last 250,000 years, are these major frequencies in humanity. And if you look at it, all the governmental systems are set up this way. The educational systems are set up this way. The healthcare systems are set up this way. The monetary systems, the media, even the way that we do relationships, we sacrifice ourselves for, being in a certain relationship, types of relationships. Even the way we interact with our own selves, we sacrifice ourselves for, we sacrifice our health for money. It's always the lesser of two evils. Okay, so this is like the major thing we're doing here. And we're actually, so when these frequencies happened and when we're doing this, because this reptilian consciousness only knew fear, when these two other frequencies were now created, basically enslavement, imprisonment, and sacrifice, those frequencies to this reptilian consciousness became an elevation of fear, which is basically like an elixir to them, like a drug. And they liked it. So that's why they want more of it. And this is the reason that all of these systems are now playing out in these frequencies, because this reptilian consciousness has basically been convincing humanity, us, to do this, to create this for them, because they're feeding off this, is how it works. So we are creator beings. They don't create, we do, okay? And so how did they get us to do this? And what's really going on here, okay? Well, the design of the human body is such that we take this giant consciousness, which is you, okay? So your soul is basically a library of information, okay? Because you are information as source, of source. And so the design of the human body is that you take this giant bit of consciousness information and you download it into your brain. So we are the software to like the brain is the hardware. You download it into this brain and then that dialogues to the physical body and that creates out into the world. That's the design. But that is not what's been happening. And also the ascension process is we're not ascending, the body is ascending because we're already fifth dimensional or higher beings. We've entered into this third dimensional body, right? So the body's actually at this third dimension. So what we're actually doing, what happened is that instead of us downloading our giant consciousness into this physical brain and communicating out into the body, what we've been doing is we've taken this giant consciousness and we've been basically sitting it in little boxes inside your brain, so to speak. And it's like this maze, it's these pentagonal shaped boxes, they're like little pentagons. And of course pentagon specifically because it's a closed grid container. And so it's as though we're taking our consciousness and we're sitting in these boxes, and there's actually separate boxes. And these boxes don't even communicate with each other. And it's as though we're sitting in these boxes listening to a book being read to us. And so what is this book? This book is the belief systems of the collective. It's what we're told it means to be a man or a woman, or how you can create business or whatever you can do. So we're basically being told that and sitting in these boxes. This grid, that these pentagonal shaped boxes have been created by these frequencies of enslavement and imprisonment from the collective belief of all the limits that we have. So all the limited belief systems have literally created this kind of closed grid container. And then we take our consciousness and we're sitting in these different ones. And the different ones would be like, one is like how do I have relationships? The other's how I make money. The other's how I have a family, because of the different things we're told. Okay, so this is what we've been doing. And we're doing, it's also because we are indoctrinated with fear as our base frequency. Okay, so that because fear is your first frequency, then every other frequency is in this range of fear, which is, it's like if fear is the container, then every other frequency that we have is just sort of emphasizing this container. And just think about this in your life, right? When you're decision making, you don't just sit in the 0 point, which is what we're getting ready to talk about. We actually start thinking about what possibilities are based on what we already know. Right? So that's these boxes that we're in. Okay? So how do we wake up? How do we stop doing this? Right, what do we have to do? Well, we have to think about what's called the human template. What I refer to as the human template. So what the human template is basically it's a blueprint of the physical body. And it doesn't, when I see it, it doesn't look like, arms and legs and this kind of stuff. It looks like just sort of this template of the possibilities of what the physical body can kind of look like and react. Because as our consciousness, we have an unlimited ability to create within this kind of structure, so to speak. And why we need like a sort of template is because as consciousness just expands. That's what it does. And so it needs a kind of container in order to create like a physicality. So you can think about it kind of like the egg and the sperm. So the egg is a container, and the sperm enters, so it's information, and other information comes and exchanges information, and it begins to expand. But it expands kind of on top of each other, creating a physicality because it's in like a container. So this is the kind of idea of a blueprint, kind of a container. So the first container that our consciousness interacts with is this physical body. So in order to stop creating these frequencies of enslavement, imprisonment, and sacrifice, we've got to, the first thing is we've got to bring this physical body into a 0 point, a now moment without judgment, okay? Because when we do that, remember what I said, is we are fifth dimensional or higher beings, right? So if I come into the absolute neutrality point, I am my multidimensional self. I am in, when I say the 0 point, to me, it is literally the frequency of truth, which is the place of no thing and all possibilities. So you're quite literally in the all. And so if we can get to that neutral point, that now point without judgment, then I, in essence, stop creating those frequencies of enslavement, imprisonment, and sacrifice, right? But I have to get the template into 0 because the body is vibrating at those frequencies. Because, and why is the body? Because this is my life experiences that are all the beliefs of the collective, right? So they're absorbed in the body. So it's basically just getting into a 0 and allowing, okay? So this is the first template. So on the earth, though, we are, we're not just on the earth, okay? We are one with the earth. So as creator beings, they said the first container that we have to be able to create within is this physical body. The second container is, there we go, sorry, is the earth template, okay? Because we also one with the earth. So this is the other place of when we are in this now moment without judgment, we come into a 0 point with the earth. And the experience of that would be, if I'm not at the 0 point in the earth, is when I feel like a tree is just a tree, and a bug's a bug, and I can kill it, and it doesn't matter. But when I'm at the 0 point is when I have that awareness that they're consciousness, and I'm consciousness. We're all one, right? So, so this is really the name of the game, right? Is coming into this divine 0 point moment, because and one thing I say a lot is that, sorry, the slides are not moving very well here for some reason, is that this is really easy and really hard at the same time, right? Because what are we really saying? Just let go, right? Just be in the now. Okay, that's it. Be in the now moment without any judgment. Okay, but what makes that hard is that we have life experiences, and everything is energy and frequency. And we are consciousness, which is energy and frequency. And all we're doing on this earth plane is matching frequencies in order to be comfortable. Okay, and the reason that you're continually repeating things is because you're matching them. There's a constant matching. So example of matching a frequency would be, we think about just like a simple emotion, it would be that, just universal law is that faster moving frequencies always try to raise slower ones up. So example of matching would be if I'm happy and you're mad and I come around you, then what's going to happen is my happy is going to give your mad a bump because it's going to try to raise it up. So I'm basically going to irritate you. And so as long as I maintain my happy, you only have two choices. You either meet me at happy because it's about matching, or you go away. Okay? So this is the idea of matching frequencies. And everything is frequency, your clothes, your everything. So there's a constant match. So that's again why when we get into that 0 without judgment, we can begin to feel, we can begin to be aware of what I'm matching, what's happening to me. That's again how we stop all of that like sacrifice, imprisonment, enslavement aspects that we're doing over and over again. that we don't know we're doing. So here's the idea of really how to do this is you have to have the imagination that you're a little child and you want to be that very inquisitive, excited, curious about what life is. This is the other thing, is that because fear is our base frequency, we have been guided to only move in the range of fear, which is when a lot of times what will happen is you get in the now moment and immediately you go into a panic. You go into, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. But if we actually let go and allow ourselves to go into the place of curiosity and excitement and the childlike excitement, then we align to the authentic frequencies and ranges that are here on the planet. So an example of this might be, well, let's just say first that there is a time in your chronological life when you are in recognition of your higher dimensional self in a physical body, but you're very, very young. And it's usually about the age of 2 or maybe a little bit before that, because it's before cognitive awareness comes in or before you start to understand language. And so when you actually come into this 0 point moment, it's important to recognize that you're probably very young in this. So it's going to be uncomfortable because you haven't had an authentic experience and you don't know what it is. And you could be whatever age, chronological age, but you're going to be very young. So an example of how this may play out would be, say you're meeting somebody for the first time that you might be attracted to. And you might get that nervousness or that, whatever. And what do, right? We suck it all up and we get because we got to show up a certain way, right? Well, what if you just didn't? And you're sweating bullets and you're nervous and you're whatever. Okay, so that's the idea, just let it happen. Just let it, right? And most important actually is later, okay, when you're by yourself, because this is really where we've been trained from the collective to really do the judgment. So you're at home, you're by yourself, and you start repeating it, and you're like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. And so what you want to do is you want to imagine that there's a little child here, right? Because you're little, right? You're very young. So you want to imagine being the perfect parent to this little child. And so what I think of the perfect parent is just simply holding space for this child to have whatever emotion they have. Just kind of being there like, I'm with you, but you get to do whatever you want. And so if you can have that imagination and you're holding space for this child, so when you're at home and this is going on inside of you, you just simply be like, well, whatever. Okay, so we had an experience. And then it becomes, okay, cool. Because think about it, if we're kids, that's really what it is. Until somebody comes along and goes, blah, 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 we don't know what happened. We're like, whatever. It is what it is. It's new, right? So this is the game here. And I gave a lot of kind of background and detail, and I'm really simplifying things here, but this is really important because these energies and frequencies that we're perpetuating on this planet, and people are feeling it. And you can feel it in the collective, right? That all of this, there's a lot of confusion, a lot of despair, a lot of things that are going on. And simply, if we can truly get into this now moment, this 0 point moment, it's not just about being neutral, because I think somebody else talked about this too. It's I refer to as false frequencies. There's a lot of false frequencies that are on the planet. And a lot of the false frequencies, they're false because they're based in the frequency of fear. So an example of this might be that, say you're really upset and depressed, and you meet someone, and you end up in a relationship with that person, and you think, oh, this is so great, and I feel so great, and I'm really happy now. And I'd say to you, well, that's not authentic. And I'd say, why? Because you only moved from depression to happy. You didn't come into a neutral to have an actual authentic experience of that. And this is what's tricky about what's been going on in the collective, which is why individuals are picking people who are matching what's vibrating inside and not your soul, not yourself. Okay, they're vibrating aspects of what you've collected from being here in the collective in these energies, right? So if you wonder why you can't find the relationship and something keeps happening, and this is why, right? Because we're not at our authentic, we're not letting ourselves actually have a genuine experience. Okay? That's why I keep saying this is really easy and really hard at the same time. So all we really have to do is this idea of 0 point is really just, it's about breath, it's about taking a breath, having your feet on the floor, on the ground. I have some real simple techniques about getting and keeping you present. Initially, it's just simple things like you wake up in the morning and you feel your sheets, and you ask yourself, why did I pick these colors, when your head starts taking off in your day. You bring yourself back, and you practice some of these real simple steps of actually getting present so that you can begin to actually feel, because these are some of the first steps. We don't feel. We don't even know that we're not present and that we're not feeling, or that what we're feeling, right? Okay. And I think what's really important to understand is that when we are actually having a pure experience, we are one with all things, everywhere, all universes, all everything. Okay, that's how huge this is, really, in the energy. And it's all about just allowing ourselves to actually be in the now moment and have an experience. Because what we're guided to do is never be in the now moment. We're always in the past or in the future, and there's always this sense of urgency of something going on, right? Okay. Ooh. All right, well, what I'd like to do now is I want to take you into a very divine 0 point moment, but I want to take you out past the space-time continuum, out past the free will zone, so that whatever is ready to release from this physical body will have the greatest ability to be able to do it. Because the other thing that's keeping you is in this idea of time, that's keeping these frequencies in this third dimensional aspect of your being. So I'm going to take you out past that. And also, I was guided a little bit ago, is we're going to bring in your future self once we're out there. And you'll have opportunity to communicate with this aspect of yourself. So what I'm going to encourage you, before we actually start to go in here, is just to, start to breathe and relax a little bit, and just have an intent to release whatever is not serving you, whatever. And I will be guiding you and moving through things. I also feel a lot of mental energy with certain people, so we're going to start to just release that out. Just little particles are just going to start to release out. So we're going to begin to shift this. Okay? All right. And there may be toning involved, so you never know. We're going to see how all this goes. All right, so if everybody wants to just close your eyes and start taking some nice deep breaths. Breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. Ooh, and just letting go. Big breath. Keep breathing and allowing. Just expanding. Ooh. You can just keep expanding your field. As we expand, I want you to imagine little particles like dirt just floating out of your body, particularly out of your throat and out of your head as we continue to expand you. Keep allowing and letting go. So I'm going to continue to expand you. So I'm going to continue to expand you. So we're taking you out past the space-time continuum, out past the free will zone. I'm going to lift off your heads. There's some construct there. Just take a deep breath. We're going to move this. Continuing to expand you. There's a frequency of matter that's stepping in that's going to clear on a very quantum level the carbon DNA within your physical bodies. Just allow this. It's like it's almost spiraling through the, it's at a very deep cellular level, and it's like recalibrating the cellular body to a neutrality frequency. Just taking a breath. There's a crystalline consciousness that's also stepping in. It's just clarifying the crystalline body, like the crystalline DNA. It's coming in as a clarity to connect and connect with the carbon DNA that's being cleared by this matter frequency. So there's some deep connection clearing going on as we continue to expand you. Just allowing. It's recalibration. As we continue to expand. So we're taking you out past the free will zone and way out. There's just keep breathing and allowing. Oof. There's this giant construct of universal consciousness that's just engaging with you all, and it's like, it's hard to describe. It's just a giant universal consciousness that is, it's like really clear, that's engaging. And it's going to bring forward your future self. So as your future self kind of moves closer to you, some of you, you may see your future self looking straight into your face. And you actually can shift this to become this future self at this now moment and feel what is being brought to you. There's a lot of, this universal consciousness is bringing just so many different layers of information, just on so many different levels within your being. Just allow it. There's the consciousness also of the central sun, so golden lights coming in as well. It's creating a lot of clarity for your soul path, for your being here at this time, as there's like a clarity, sort of neutrality taking place within this universal consciousness. You're still very far out. Keep breathing and allowing, taking a breath. keep expanding you. As this frequency of this central sun, it's like it's bringing in like so much life, like life force to your soul, basically, your soul signature. It's like engaging it, sort of like a remembrance through all timelines. So this is like the original sort of spark as source. It's like the first sort of spark aspect is being kind of reconnected with life, like life. Keep breathing and allowing. Allow just to release all that no longer serves you. It's grace and ease. There's no efforting here. You simply allow, as we're just allowing all these consciousness to clear. I'm watching this get very clear. It's as though I can see it on a very deep quantum level. It's becoming very crisp in your origination, your individuations as source, light, sound, water, clearing to the 0 point at this quantum level. We're getting ready to come into this 0 point now. Take a deep breath and simply allow. As this really, really high frequency, very bright, bright white light comes around you, this is your divine creator. Stepping forward as a remembrance of you as source. It's a remembrance too as your divinity. It's kind of surrounding you now. Take a deep breath. And there's a golden light also coming in now. It's coming from this bright, very, very bright white light of your creator. The golden light is you before you ever came into form. It's your soul, and it's coming from your creator as it's like your remembrance of exactly why you're here in this lifetime, and this is being guided into now your central and peripheral nervous system within your body. It's a recalibration, as a remembrance kind of your why you came here. Letting that be recalibrated. Take a deep breath as you continue to release anything that no longer serves you, as let all this take place. As we just allow this, all that no longer serves you, to lift off, become completely clear. As we come into this divine, beautiful 0 point. As we begin to take this 0 point coming back down into the body, down into the body. So we bring this down into your physical heart, this beautiful clarity of your soul signature, origination, the awareness of your future self. Bringing this down into your physical heart, planting it down into the original seed. Now communicating directly with every single cell within the physical body. So you begin to come back down, down into the body, taking a breath. Keep bringing you back down into your body. Imagine opening up roots at your feet, rooting into the crystalline core of Gaia, with your crown open, completely plugged into Source. As above is below, as below is above. So we're coming down to the body. This recalibration within your physical heart. Keep coming back down into the body. As you feel ready, you can begin to open your eyes. Have a drink of water. Mm-hmm. 3 and 3. Oh, that was pretty big. How's everybody feeling? Well, we have a couple minutes if anybody wants to share, can share, or has any questions.
Did you see anything specific?
I'm sorry, what?
Did you see anything specific in it
For
this crowd or those who were watching?
Yeah, well, it was just so huge. I felt like those consciousness that came in, you know, this consciousness of matter. I could see it on, it looked like, it was so close to me that I could see like, it looked sort of darker in like these strands, and I was thinking it was like the tiniest little strand of, you know, physicality that you could have, and I just saw it getting recalibrated. And you can't not work with the collective. So you guys are all, we do some huge things for the collective here. And taking that out when you go past that space-time continuum and free will zone, it's like it's so much energy there, And I could see, there was a construct actually that I saw, it was kind of over the heads, but I think it was what was around the earth, and we were able to move that somewhat. And it was a lot of the technology. It was a big technology piece. I felt it go, that moved off, which I think is very huge, in terms of timelines. I think that's what's important to understand too, because there's a lot of timelines that are going on, and shifting in like this, what we did is be able to shift a particular timeline. So your intent to be on this timeline will be the intent of what we've been creating. Yeah. Okay. Anything else?
Where are these reptilians? Have they incorporated themselves into us, or are they separate, or what?
The reptilians?
Yeah, where are they?
They're in a fourth dimensional field, and some are embodied in humans, but they can more bring energy communication into your body. But they're in a fourth dimensional field. They sit in a fourth dimensional field. That's weird, is that what you said? Well, but remember, we're creator beings. Remember, we're creators. So there's nothing to fear but fear itself. Fear is not an authentic frequency. And let me just talk about that a second, since I have a minute here. But authentic frequencies are that they are connected basically to source all the way through, and they have a wavelength to them. A non-authentic, like chaos frequency, which is what fear, it's bouncing, which is why you can't grab it or hold it. That's why you just have to allow it. If you don't have anything to do with it, it'll just keep bouncing around. It'll go wherever it wants to go. It doesn't have anything. There's nothing to it. And so that's the idea, is with this reptilian consciousness, they only know fear. So if you do not engage in fear, you are not engaging. It's basically, that's it. That's how simple it is. That's why when you get in that zero, you simply stop it. Then there's nothing. There's no thing. But there's no thing, and then all possibilities exist there. So that's the idea, is let it go, right? Basically, not, disengage. And there's no power to that. I perceive it as a collective singular. I don't know. Kind of, yeah, that's the best way to say it. Yeah. So hopefully that answered.
You could keep that question to the answer.
Which one?
About Gaia.
Oh, he asked if I perceived Gaia as a collective or a individual consciousness. And I said that I see it as a collective individual. You're welcome. Okay, well, thank you.